If you want to be a better sprinter or jumper, you've got to eccentrically train. In this video, I'm going to talk through the reasons why you need to do eccentrics and how we go about it. I'll also introduce a little bit of sports science. First things first, an eccentric muscular action happens when the muscle stretches under load. Now this happens when you land from a jump, for example, or on foot strike when sprinting. The muscles in the hip, knee and ankle go on stretch before they recoil into a concentric action to propel you forwards. The stronger the eccentric part of the stretch shortening cycle, the more power that can be fired off the eccentric stretch, the faster you're going to be. The importance of eccentric training is not a new concept. This research from 1985 identifies more or less what I've just said about the value of eccentric training. We're going to focus on eccentric emphasized jumping exercises, such as those that I get my athletes to do down steps, for example. I've had a number of comments about the safety of doing these particular jumps with young athletes, and in the 10 to 15 years that we've been doing this particular session, we've had very few injuries, none really directly caused by that session. I did come across some research that looked at the efficacy of eccentric training for young athletes. The research was very positive in terms of the ability of eccentric training to make the athletes more robust, to strengthen soft tissue, muscles, ligaments and tendons relevantly. So there's great vindication for training eccentrically. We use various intensities of eccentric exercise in our training, from more lower intensity versions to the higher intensity versions, such as the down step jumping and downhill running. For example, from a lower intensity perspective, we've got these step down single leg squats, which are all about controlling movement and also involve an element of an isometric held position as well. They're also great for ankle, knee, hip stabilization and, as I said, controlling the body. So you've got this slower eccentric movement. There's a lot of debate about the speed of eccentrics if you're using more resistance type of drills, exercises, and the speed at which the eccentric movement is performed, less than 2 seconds, greater than 2 seconds, for example. And I'll speak more about that in another video. Eccentric muscular actions have been shown to be able to recruit greater numbers of fast twitch muscle fibers. So therefore, there's an added benefit to being able to include them in your training. I found further research that vindicated the usage of downgrade sprinting and uphill gradient sprinting at a very slight angle, 3 degrees, by the researchers. And this was shown to improve sprint speed in athletes compared to those who just sprinted on the horizontal. Gradient work improved top end speed, and it also improved the sprinting kinematics of the sprinters as well. So cadence, ground contact time, stride length, so forth and so on. It could be argued that the down gradient and the down step work is very advanced. I don't believe that it is, because as I've said earlier, the athletes in my group are specifically conditioned to be able to do it. If you don't do that type of training regularly, then of course the risk is going to be run that injuries could occur. In the 10 to 12, 13 years that I've been coaching seriously, I've coached, in terms of 16 to 19 year olds, 8 to 10 jumpers over 7 meters, with the best being 786, then a 770, 760, quite a few in the 30s and 20s, from this very means of training. From a female perspective, there's been 3 to 4 16 to 18 year olds who have jumped over 6 meters, and I've had fewer females in my training group. So therefore, this approach does seem to produce results. Much of how I coach is, yes, based on sports science, but also based on common sense. If you want to run faster, then you've got to run faster and develop the specific qualities that are going to increase velocity. If you want to long jump further, for example, then as well as speed, you've got to learn how to take off and apply force to the board horizontally and vertically. And therefore, if you spend a lot of time working on the takeoff, working on the run-up, working on the drive off of the board and developing the right eccentric components for that in the context of this particular video, then you're going to jump further. Well, I hope the information in this video will give you a greater explanation as to why eccentric training is important, a little bit of sports science justifying its usage, and more importantly, justifications for why it actually works in the context of developing sprinters and jumpers, and young sprinters and jumpers at that. If you've any specific questions, then do leave them in the section below or through my social media. And good luck, of course, with your training and any competitions that you've got coming up. And if you're looking for a really fast training shoe that thinks it's a spike, then check out the Antiques Muscle Runners. They've got a carbon fibre plate which propels you forward, springs you out of the contact and adds to the velocity. They've also got TPU foam specifically placed in order to assist with toe off and encouraging a forefoot sprinting motion. A couple of my group members have been trialling them and they are full of praise. Indeed, Abraham and Daniel are number 2 in the country in their respective age groups, and they have attributed some of their success to the Antiques Muscle Runners. Check out the link in the video description or my video that I made which goes into detail on the Antiques. You can also get a 10% discount from the link in the video description. If you like the Jumps Squad merchandise that I often wear in these videos, then do check out the spring store. You'll see the products available underneath this video, for example, and I've launched a new backpack rucksack with the Jump Squad logo on it, so do check that out.